patriots. Hello, warriors for freedom. It's great to be here.
Great to be with you all. Bill Hagerty, United States Senator from Tennessee. Wonderful to be with you today, Gordon. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill Hagerty, for coming to CPAC, and thank you for all that you do for our country. This is so important, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gordon.
A couple days ago, you said something which really hit me, and I think it will resonate with every American. Senator Hagerty said, in America now, every town has become a border town. So if you could talk about that.
You know, I warned about this at the outset of the Biden administration when they collapsed our border. What did they think was going to happen? They're essentially turning our border into a turnstile right now. They're not trying to secure our border. They're trying to accelerate the processing of illegal immigrants coming into our nation. And the result of that is happening right in my home state of Tennessee. One of the first places this was discovered was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They're flying unaccompanied minors in the dark of night. They're arriving after midnight. We caught this on camera, our local news media did. One of my friends was on a commercial flight from Dallas to Chattanooga. After midnight, again, landing in Chattanooga, he talked with the young man that was accompanying these minors. The young man was bilingual, speaking both in Spanish and in English. He said, we're taking them to a shelter in Tennessee. Well, that shelter's now been shut down. There have been terrible things that have happened there. We have demanded clarity on this. The Biden administration has been silent. Senator Marsha Blackburn and I have been very forceful about needing to know and get to the bottom of this. But the root cause of this problem is the Biden administration. It's their knee-jerk policy that's aimed at undoing the very successful policies that President Trump put in place to secure our border. They've done this in an immediate and a knee-jerk reaction. Some people say there's no strategy. I'll tell you, I think there is a strategy. I think the strategy is to flood our nation with these illegal immigrants. I think they're bringing them to a town near you and me. That's why I've said every town is becoming a border town. And what's worse is this is bringing illegal drugs across the border at record numbers. I talk with law enforcement officers. I talk with sheriffs across the state of Tennessee. They tell me they have never seen the likes of the fentanyl that is coming into our state, the overdoses, the deaths. These are our children that are being killed by illicit drugs coming from China across this porous border that has been created now by the Biden administration.
And because border agents are now so preoccupied by migrants coming across the border, they don't have the resources to stop the illegal substances, the fentanyl, and God knows what else is coming across.
That's the very strategy. The coyotes are actually marketing the messages coming from the Biden White House. You know, we'll reunite families, we'll treat you better, $15 an hour minimum wage, $1,500 free checks for illegal immigrants. They're marketing these messages to the most vulnerable aspects of the populations in the Northern Triangle, in Mexico. They're encouraging these families to destroy their families, to separate children from their parents, and to send them on a very dangerous journey across Mexico and across this border. The cartels love this because this, again, overwhelms the border agents. They know the timing of this. Start sending the families over in the morning, occupy everybody, and send the drugs across in the afternoon. Again, this is killing Americans. It's overwhelming our border patrol. It's demoralizing to law enforcement across America. And it is the direct product of the Biden administration.
And we also know that with regard to China, China wants to weaken America. They want to weaken us with drugs. And you talked about Korea and Japan, the same thing.
Yeah, it's happened in the past. We saw it happen after the occupation of Japan took place. North Korea was sending drugs into Japan to try to weaken our military, Japanese youth as well, so that we couldn't serve. You know, China has seen this opportunity. I went down across the border fully a month before Vice President Biden sent Kamala Harris there. A month before, I went down to the President of Guatemala and his foreign minister. I went to meet with the foreign minister of Mexico and their cabinet members and business people there. What I learned is that there's been a massive uptick in China's activity in Mexico. They are shipping more and more fentanyl and its precursors illegally into Mexico. They're working with the cartels every day. They're using Chinese technicians to train the cartels how to do this. They are stamping out illegal drugs at a miraculous rate. And they're shipping those illegal drugs from China across our border, again, killing our kids, overdosing our kids, and creating mayhem in America. What we're seeing happening is the Biden administration took what was the greatest economy that we've seen in my lifetime, President Trump put in place literally a blue-collar revolution, bringing about the best jobs environment that we've ever seen. And the blue collar of America, regardless of demographic, did better than ever before. What Biden is creating is blue-collar mayhem, causing our kids to die at a more rapid pace, more overdoses, people out of work, and people being subsidized to stay out of work. This has got to be brought to an end.
China's been doing this for decades, but what's different now is that the occupant in the White House is not defending us. And we saw this in other contexts as well. So for instance, last month, Biden went to Europe, met with Putin, said to Putin, there are 16 key infrastructure projects that you cannot cyber attack. What is this?
The answer should be everything is off limits to you. The Biden policies are just incredible. And who benefits? Think about it. Coming into office and killing the Keystone XL pipeline and stopping drilling on all federal lands. That makes America now less energy independent. It makes us vulnerable to guess whom? China. Who do you think makes these solar panels? Who do you think makes the wind turbines? Who's laughing all the way to the bank as the Biden administration comes in and administers policies like allowing the Nord Stream pipeline to go through, rejoining the START Treaty and getting nothing for it, the Paris Climate Accord, getting nothing for it, putting us back into the WHO. I'll tell you who's enjoying the benefit of this. It's China. It's communist China. It's Vladimir Putin in Russia. It's the Ayatollahs in Iran that are benefiting from this. It's the Mexican drug cartels that benefit. And yes, it's the criminals in America that are benefiting from the Biden policies today.
Senator, you touched on something because you talked about how Putin looks at this, and indeed other leaders around the world, rogue regimes, China, all the rest of them, and they say, oh, the US now is easy pickings.
They're testing us at every level. You look at what they did with the Colonial Pipeline, solar winds. You look at these things and you think, Vladimir Putin doesn't know what's going on? Are there any attacks happening to the Russian government? No, I think not. But we're giving him a clean pass. We're saying, we're going to give Putin a pass on this. We're going to give him a list of 16 things not to touch. We need to make it clear that America is a sovereign nation, that we're going to protect this sovereign nation, and we will not tolerate this type of behavior ever.
You mentioned the hacks. Remember, this started out with Colonial Pipeline. There was a hack. And then Biden's deputy national security advisor gets in front of the podium in the White House and says, we have no objection to Colonial Pipeline paying a ransom. So what happened? A couple weeks after that, JB, which is the Brazilian meat packer, which owns a large portion of our meat capacity, they get hacked. And after that, we've gotten another series of hacks this last week. This is the Biden administration opening the door to paying ransom. So what do you think Putin thinks?
It's all about incentives, Gordon. It's all about incentives, and these are the incentives that this administration is putting in place. President Trump worked diligently to create the opposite set of incentives. When I served in his administration as the United States ambassador to Japan, I worked my heart out to get the Japanese government to stop buying crude oil from Iran. These are hard-fought sanctions put in place. It took me months to get that done. We had Iran at a place where they were about ready to actually come to the table and negotiate in a realistic posture. Today, Iran is the beneficiary of China buying millions of barrels of oil. 1 million barrels a day they're up to, I read. This is because the Biden administration is not enforcing any of those sanctions. We're walking away from some of the hardest fought sanctions ever put in place in America. We're walking away from the migrant protection protocols, the stay in Mexico policy that was working. We're handing money back over to the WHO. They're the ones that work to actually propel Chinese propaganda, hide the original source, the original danger of the coronavirus that's devastated this world. We've seen the Biden administration step up time and again, getting nothing for the hard effort that we put in place in handing back our leverage, handing back our sovereignty, and making America more vulnerable at every turn. And when you look domestically and you hear the conversation about defunding the police, the criminal elements in America are thriving like never before. Look at the crime rates in our cities. It's happening at every level, Gordon.
You talk about these giveaways where Biden has given away stuff to foreigners and gotten nothing in return. Those are the Iran sanctions that he did that. Also, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is not an issue which, of course, has gotten the attention of Americans, but is critically important to us because it signaled to Vladimir Putin that he could do what he wanted.
And we got nothing for that. We got nothing for what we're doing with Iran. I made it a point to fly to Israel as soon as the 11-day war ended. You know, 4,000 rockets were launched by Hamas into our ally Israel. You know who funds these rockets. You know who provides the technology. It's Iran. I went there to show what Americans truly believe, not what we're hearing from a minority in the Biden administration and some of those in Congress, which is being amplified by the media. They actually make it look as though Americans support terror, that we want to be on the side of Iran, but that is not true. I assured our Israeli allies that in Tennessee, whether you're a Democrat, an independent, or a Republican, we stand with Israel.
I love that flag over there. Thank you so much.
Amen to that. Amen.
President Trump, in the last year, put together what's known as the Abraham Accords, which really was a reconciliation between Israel and a number of Arab states, including the most important of them. And yet, you're seeing in the early months of the Biden administration an attempt to undermine those accords.
You know, when I was in Israel, I made it very clear that we want to see continued momentum in this direction. When I met with business leaders in Israel, they want to see this happen too. And if you think about our economic security and prosperity, if we can have greater economic ties, we'll see greater strategic ties. We'll see greater opportunity for people in that region, and we'll find a reason to have peace rather than war. This is the right direction, and the momentum that was created under the Trump administration was outstanding. I'm fortunate to have people on my staff that were deeply involved in creating the Abraham Accords. This is the right direction. We want to see peace in the Middle East. Kowtowing to the Iranians is absolutely the wrong direction. The Iranians are going to continue to fund proxies, whether they be Hezbollah, Hamas, or others, to undo all of the peace that we tried to underscore. They are the largest state sponsor of terror in the world, yet we've got a team working with the Europeans, not with our Middle Eastern allies, but working with the Europeans right now and with China and Russia to come back into a failed deal with Iran that will put them on the path to have a nuclear weapon, the last thing that we need for peace in the Middle East. It will put tens of billions of dollars back in their pocket again to fund more terror in that region and make the entire world unsafe. Who would do this? The Biden administration would. Who's got to stand up against this? We do.
We do. Absolutely. Absolutely. The Abraham Accords were historic by any standard. The Biden administration is trying to take them down. You mentioned the World Health Organization. President Trump last year, middle of the year in July, got us out of the WHO, which helped China spread the disease to our shores, where 606,000 Americans have now succumbed. Biden, on his first day, rejoins the World Health Organization, which means we're shoveling hundreds of millions of dollars into the hands of those who brought the disease to our country.
Without obtaining a single reform in the process. I'm a business person. I've been a business person all my life. You do not give up leverage like that for nothing. What we're doing is we're turning the other cheek, we're appeasing. This is the policies that we've seen fail before. It's called leading from behind. We know where that got us. I can tell you where it got us in the region where I was ambassador. It brought North Korea to the fold. It's allowed China to build up the largest navy now in the world. We have got to come back and lead from strength. The world is thirsty for American strength. I can tell you that from personal experience. We have to be a strong nation. President Trump taught the world this. We need to step back up and be the nation that we're capable of being, and that is the greatest nation on the planet Earth.
One of the themes of Biden foreign policy that we've been able to see so far is we want to be friends with others. And so therefore, there's been all of those unilateral concessions that have gotten us nothing. What was clear when Senator Hagerty was ambassador to Japan was that the Trump administration was leading. A lot of other countries didn't like it because they didn't want to make those hard choices. But that's what the United States did. It was to lead with strength because President Trump understood that others would follow. And others would follow not just for America first, but because it put their countries first as well.
Indeed. Indeed. Our allies' interests are served when our interests are served together. We were never America only. We were going to be America together with our allies. We should be America together with our allies. And again, a strong America leads to a stronger world. Again, who loves the Biden policies? I'll roll through the list again. It's communist China. It's Vladimir Putin in Russia. It's the Ayatollahs in Iran and its criminal elements and cartels like Mexico and other areas and right here in America. That's who's benefiting from this. We have to step back and again guide our allies toward strength and peace through strength that will bring a stronger economy, that will bring the type of livelihood that we all enjoyed, again, just up until the pandemic started, the best economy that we've ever seen here in America. That's possible again, but it requires American leadership.
And one of the things you talked about with all of those elements there were that they're starting to work together again. You got China, it's giving strength to Russia, and they've got their regime allies, Iran, North Korea, Venezuela, Cuba, we hear from again.
Yes.
It is all together.
Yes, yes. We've got to be clear-eyed about this. I'm thankful I've got very strong colleagues in the United States Senate. We're in a 50-50 Senate. The media might portray this as though we've lost the Senate entirely. The only reason that the gavel belongs to the Democrats right now is because Kamala Harris is the vice president. We're going to fight hard as we can in 2022. We're going to take the House back. We're going to take the Senate back. We're going to put an end to this policy once and for all. You're right.
These are some of the most perilous times in history. And they're perilous because the enemies of America think that they can do what they want. But thank God there are Americans like Bill Hagerty.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you.
And thank God there are Americans like you who are our last line of defense.
Thank you.
Freedom needs warriors. So let's go out and win this fight. Let me hear you say it. USA. USA! 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 Thank you so much.
God bless you. God bless CPAC.